There are a number of developments, I have to say, in the electricity generation world. We were just talking last week, Craig Stobo and I, about how the fact that spot price for electricity had dropped from something like $800 a kilowatt hour to $5. I think it's 10 now, but nevertheless, it has dropped dramatically. Nevertheless, there has been used the price of electricity by Windstone International as a reason why they're closing down. And Shane Jones has got much more upmarket about that in the last 24 hours and says that anybody who thinks that electricity prices aren't having an influence upon New Zealand business is stupid. And I think he actually pretty much used that. And I think he was looking more at National Party than he was looking at anybody else. But there has also been movement in that particular area, particularly with Manawa Energy, which I'll explain in a moment, and also developments across the Tasman, which might or might not have an implication for us. Joining us to talk about all these sorts of things and more is our outstanding economic and financial commentator, Craig Stobo, and he joins us now. Craig, lovely to have you on, mate. Have you had a good week?
Good morning. Good morning. Well, actually, I'm ringing from Singapore.
Oh, are you? So it is morning there.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for taking the time out. What are you doing there? Are you having a holiday or are you doing business?
No. I'm on a tour of regulators. As you know, I'm the new chair of the FMA, the Financial Markets Authority in New Zealand, and we have very strong relationships with regulators in the APAC, the Asia Pacific region. So this is the last stop to meet the MAS, which is the equivalent in Singapore. And I have been to visit the Australian regulator in Melbourne, then the Hong Kong regulator and the Malaysian regulator yesterday. And we've got a day in Singapore today and come back to New Zealand over the weekend. So I'm learning a lot, got to say, in some respects, pretty humbled by what our colleagues are doing, which is instructive for us to think about how we can meet our objective for our people in New Zealand, which is to promote and facilitate the growth of New Zealand's financial markets with fairness, transparency and efficiency. So, yeah, happy to talk. I've got a meeting after 9 o'clock local time, so I've got some time to talk to you. So there we go.
Oh, listen, I appreciate your time, mate, and certainly always your insight and intelligence is very, very welcome to our audience. Can I just say, I'm interested, though, when you say you're humbled, do you mean that they're much more sophisticated than us?
Well, you've got to remember where Singapore came from after independence in mid-60s with Lee Kuan Yew and what they've built here on an island, yet to meet the local regulator. But even in Kuala Lumpur yesterday, 1.8 million people city and $30 million population, and just incredible what they've done. And their people are wonderful, and we had a wonderful exchange of ideas with the regulator there, the Securities Commission, as well as their stock exchange. And their stock exchange is doing really well. It's booming along with new listings. They have obviously got a lens with Islamic finance that we don't have, just as Hong Kong has a lens with their relationship with China. So you sort of think to yourselves, well, how can we build our financial markets, create more choices, lower costs, provide innovation in New Zealand? And some of these people are just motoring along with innovation, which I'm very impressed with, and want to consider those ideas and bring them back to New Zealand.
Yeah, that'd be good. The Islamic bit, they're not allowed to charge interest. Is that the story?
That's right. So they earn income via fees, for example, rather than interest. That's exactly right. But it's a very strong sector. About 60% of the work that the Securities Commission does in Malaysia is related to Islamic finance. Very strong Muslim population, obviously, in Malaysia. So that's one of the reasons they're doing very, very well.
We should probably mass convert, shouldn't we? Certainly save our money on mortgages.
Well, you just pay different. I think you just pay in different ways. You can't charge interest. The Sherlocks of the world, you have to earn income in different ways. So it's just a very strong religious requirement, and the Sharia law, etc. So they adhere to it.
Okay. Listen, mate. While you've been away, there is a story about the proposal of Contact Energy to acquire Manawa Energy. Now, I think that was the old Trustpower from memory. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. And
right.
it's right. Carry on.
Go.
Oh,
no,
sure.
It's over $1 billion. Yeah, it's over $1 billion, but yeah, keep going.
Manawa Energy own 25 North Island hydro plants. God, I didn't realise there were that many, to be honest with you, Craig. They've got about 600 industrial customers. They want to sell to Contact Energy, and there's a suggestion that although the Manawa shareholders are happy about it, and so obviously are Contact, otherwise they wouldn't be buying it, that it might lead to some imbalance in the energy market in this country. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, no, ownership changes hands, doesn't it? So it's a share and cash issue, which results in Manawa shareholders. It's a Tauranga-based company, the old Trustpower, but it means that Manawa shareholders get cash and shares in Contact. So nothing changes in terms of physical location and physical assets. It's simply an ownership change where Manawa shareholders get to vote on the proposal. So the question is, what does Contact, the new owner, do with those assets? What does that do to their diversification of their portfolio of assets, which includes hydro, obviously, and some gas, I think, from memory. So it's a bit hard to say at this stage. It's just a question that we often talk about in financial markets. Do we build our own, or do we buy someone else who already owns stuff, And perhaps the premium that has been paid, I'm not giving advice and I don't know the transaction in detail, but you would say that Contact shareholders and represented by their board of directors are saying we're better off acquiring these assets at a premium rather than spending the next 20, 25 years trying to build our own assets in this country. So it may reflect, amongst other things, the delays and costs and time of building new renewables. Doesn't help change the output because there's no change in assets. It's the same assets, just different ownership.
Okay. All right. But I think they're talking about market domination, but even if they bought Manawa, I wouldn't anticipate that being such because there's still plenty of other gentailers around. Can I just ask this one, though, of you?
Yeah.
Is that right? Have I got that right?
Well, Meridian sort of depends each day, doesn't it, on what the stock price is, but Meridian at the moment is by far and away the largest. Particularly as a 100% renewables company, so they'll be a bit of a benchmark.
Listen, the big story this week to do with electricity prices, even though they've dropped to sort of normal levels now that there's been some rain, is the closure of Winston Pulp International and the loss of 230 jobs in the old Ruapehu area. Shane Jones is still having a crack. He is saying that the cost of electricity is the reason why these people have left. I'm not entirely convinced of that, but that doesn't matter. That's what he's saying that's important. And he is the Associate Energy Minister. And he's saying that he is still leading in calls to rein in the power of gentailers, generation people who also retail. Do you think he's got a legitimate concern, or do you think he misunderstands the market?
No, he's not. He's not the best friend of the gentailers, for sure. That's exactly right. The energy supply issues that created that $800 price spike in early August was simply a combination of no rain, which is normal in July, like it's a drier month than normal than other months, and secondly the problems we've had in gas, which are partially solved by Methanex agreeing to do a deal to shut down and transfer their gas rights to other people. So it was an unusual spike, and I think it was last week I mentioned that because it had rained and the gas had been slightly solved, not permanently solved, the spot wholesale price fell back to $5. So the question in your mind is, why did Winston close? Normally, companies who have got exposure to a particular marketplace, whether it's electricity or some other cost component that's a really important part of their business, would try and manage that really well through hedging or through risk management techniques. And I don't know Winstone's situation at all, so I don't know what their electricity hedging or treasury policies are, for example. But it just seems odd that within a 2 or 3 week period, that closure occurs, and even when the spot price comes back to $5, they continue with the decision to close. So I suspect, without knowing, that there's probably other factors going on. It's not just about the power price. It may well be the other cost pressures they have. It may well be the markets they operate in, for example, because after all, GDP worldwide is slowing down, and they may face revenue pressures from the markets they sell into.